Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to the BFS Fishing Channel. And in this video, we've got a new reel. This is a kind of a follow-up reel, I guess, to a reel that we've already reviewed on the channel. And it is the Histar or Histar GIU99. Now, GIU in Chinese actually means extreme feather, which kind of refers to the fact that the reel itself is a very, very light weight. But anyways, let's go ahead and get this opened. And I've actually already opened it up before. There's a little bit of a story behind this. A subscriber who goes by Doc, and I want to say thank you very much to Doc for purchasing this reel. But he provided this reel to the channel to be reviewed because he really likes the reel. Okay, kind of a snazzy box, by the way. It's got like a magnetic clasp, and there's not too much in terms of information on here. Mine just happens to be a little bit beat up. There is a story to probably why this box is beat up, but this particular reel has spent about 4 to 5 weeks in circulation due to an error with the address listed. Anyways, okay, so this is the Histar GIU99. In China, Histar is actually known as Hasida, or Hasida. And the GIU99 is different from this reel right here. This is the Histar or Hasida Aurora Air. You can see that the frames are very, very similar. They actually are identical, but where this one differs over the Aurora Air is the weight. So I'm going to go ahead and give you some beauty shots of this reel right now, and we're going to do a spec dump really quickly, and then we'll talk about some of the pros and cons that I've kind of found with this reel in the very, very short time that I've had it. Okay, so this reel claims to weigh 99 grams plus or minus 1, and that's due to the fact that it's made with a material that the Aurora Air is also made with, which is called PCCF, or polycarbonate carbon fiber. It is a very, very stiff plastic that has carbon fiber threads or strands within the plastic itself. There's now 3 models of the GIU99. There is this silver one, there is a red one called the Year of the Dragon, and now there is a black one that is even more expensive than these two, the silver and the red, and is only available on Taobao. But the silver one, the GIU99, and the Year of the Dragon are available on AliExpress now. Now the differences are that the spool weight of the silver version is supposed to be 3.2 grams, and that's due to a 0.25 millimeter thickness spool wall. And then the Year of the Dragon is a 3.5 gram spool due to the fact that it has a 0.3 millimeter thickness spool wall. All 3 reels have a 8.1 to 1 gear ratio, which gives us about 75 centimeters per turn, and that is manufacturer reported. And the difference in the new black one is that, well, I couldn't get a weight for the spool with the bearings on their advertising information, but they say that the spool itself without the spool pin and the bearings weighs about 1.95 grams. So I think that that's supposed to be even lighter than this silver version. In addition to that, the black version uses a different carbon fiber material they're calling Contix, which is a different polymer. And then also the black one now uses NMB SIC spool bearings instead of stainless steel ball bearings that you see in the silver GIU99 and then the red Year of the Dragon GIU99. All 3 reels are supposed to be seawater resistant, and the silver one and the red one come with 5+1 ball bearings, and the black one actually comes with 6+1 ball bearings. I believe all 3 reels come with 4 kilograms of drag strength, and they all are rated for 0.12 millimeter braid. You can spool about 190 meters, 0.14 millimeter braid. You can spool about 140 meters of line, and then 0.16 millimeter braid, you can spool about 110 meters of line. Okay, all of that information aside, let's go over the reel itself. So I did get this reel yesterday and I took it out, and immediately the first thing I noticed was basically that the star drag and the tuning of the star drag is basically the same as what I found in the Aurora Air. And so I'll go ahead and overlay some photos here showing you basically the state of the star drag that I found it in, and the fact that the two spring washers that are in the star drag stack were actually oriented in the same direction, which makes it so that when you go to try to tighten, the star drag itself will be kind of loose or not too tight, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere it'll become very, very hard to tighten. Okay, so here we go with the sounds. Here is the drag clicker. Here is the star drag. And the spool tension knob actually does not make any sounds. The brake dial is very similar to what you would see on a Darkwolf Ultra or Darkwolf Ultra variant reel, with the exception of the internal settings, which are very unique to this reel. They're kind of like an FTB, and it's going to be the exact identical braking system and side plate to what you find on the Aurora Air. And so just to prove that and just show you, I'll go ahead and put the Aurora Air side plate on here, and you can see that it actually fits. So if you wanted to make an amalgam of a reel, a Frankenstein reel, you definitely could with an Aurora Air. Okay, what I do want to say is, and bring light to, is that the drag clicker is probably one of the most rough clickers that I've ever come across. I mean, at the loosest setting, you can see how it's kind of jerky. And this reminds me a lot of what I experienced with the Sembo. And I think that has to do with the fact that the flutes on the flute ring on the internals of the main gear are actually quite deep. But the fact that it's made out of a plastic material, I think nylon, means that it can actually be worn down. And so what I've been doing, which is not a good thing, is just turning the handle over and over and over again. And by doing so, I'm kind of wearing down that plastic flute ring, which will make the clicker sounds a little bit more smooth and the vibrations a little bit more smooth. But at the same time, what that tells me is basically because it's made out of a plastic material and because the sound and the vibrations are kind of going down, it means that over time, that flute ring is going to actually wear down. So I'm not really sure why they went with a plastic material instead of going with a metal material, especially seeing nowadays that drag clicker kits, the kind that we see in these reels, are so readily available. So it's a little bit odd that they decided to go with a plastic flute ring for this one. Let's go over some of the pros and cons now. All right, so some of the potential pros. I haven't actually spooled this reel up and I have not cast it yet, but if it's anything like the Aurora Air, it will have a very good casting performance profile, meaning that it's basically a 28mm spool. It's not a 27mm spool like Histar has rated it, and I'll go ahead and show you guys that right now. So let's go ahead and zero out our calipers, and then 27.9. So that's pretty much a 28mm spool there and not a 27 like they actually report. The inner diameter is going to be 22.01, so it's about a 22mm spool. And we're going to go ahead and get some weights, and then we'll go more into the pros and the cons. So let's go ahead and get a spool weight, and hopefully you guys can see. And so what I'm getting is basically a 3.38 grams. Now they say that the spool weighs 3.2 grams. So I don't know if there's, 0.18 grams worth of grease on this thing. But I mean, is it close? Yeah, it's fairly close. So we'll go ahead and give them that. That's fine. All right, let's go ahead and get a all up weight as well. And remember, this is the GIU99 plus or minus 1. And we're coming in at 101.83. So we're actually a little bit over by about 3 grams or so, 2.85 grams. So, take that for what it is. Anyways, okay, so the pros. The casting performance should be about the same, maybe if better, than the Aurora Air. And that's due to the fact that the spool is even lighter. The PCCF material is actually quite stiff compared to your traditional nylon reinforced carbon fiber plastics, and you can see that there. The downside to that is that it has this kind of a hollow feel to it, And, you know, to me, it doesn't really feel like a very premium material, and the weight of the reel going even lighter doesn't really lend to much of a premium feeling reel. Okay, so outside of that, I will also say that the reel retrieve is relatively smooth. However, that is kind of ruined by the fact that I don't know if you guys can see that, but the handle knobs are not shimmed, and they do have bushings on the inside. And the fact that the star drag is tuned terribly. Some of the other cons are basically that even if you really crank and tighten up the star drag, you can still turn the handle, which means that the max drag strength on this reel is not very high. So yeah, take that for what it is. And that might actually be a good thing, because this spool is very, very thin and very, very light. So you don't really want to damage the spool. And so that may be one of the reasons why their max drag rating is not very high. But I don't really like the fact that the star drag is so tiny. It's very, very hard to kind of work and get in, because it does take quite a bit of force to tighten up and loosen up as well. On my particular one, aside from the poor shimming here and the tight star drag, which I actually had to take apart and then kind of tune the star drag stack, but the spool tension knob on mine is ridiculously tight for some reason. I am not sure why. And I've actually taken this off as well, and I could not find any, glaring reason as to why it is so tight. But yeah, that's the case for mine. Outside of that, the reel does feel a lot smoother, and it does have a bit more of a free spool time, and that's with the brakes on 0, and the spool tension should be very, very loose. But yeah, I think that if I shim these properly or completely change out the knobs, and then am able to tune this star drag a little bit more, or even swap out the entire star drag itself, then I can make this reel into a usable reel. And I will definitely spool this up, and I will cast it just to check to see how well it actually casts, because they're claiming that it casts down to, I think, 0.2 grams, which is a pretty bold claim. Outside of that, I don't really have much to say other than, in my opinion, this reel is not worth the $70 to $100 that Histar was asking for when it first came out. So the fact that you can get it now for under $50 is a much better deal proposition. But in my opinion, I would probably not want to pay more than $40 to $45 for this reel, especially if you have to, mess with the star drag and the fact that, these handle knobs are not shimmed very well. The fact of the matter is that the reel does not feel like a very premium reel. Just coming into a reel like this DMK Silver Feather, just rotating the handle and holding it and feeling how well the star drag is actually, set up, this feels a lot more premium and a lot more well built, and definitely worth the $70 to $80 price tag that you can pay for it when you're picking one up. Whereas this, I don't know, the build quality just isn't really there. I mean, you can hear all sorts of sounds going on, so I feel like the build quality is just not nearly as good. I will say that the casting performance, I am fully expecting that this reel will cast extremely well out of the box, and that the issues that I faced when I was reviewing the Aurora Air, and you can see mine still in pieces because I didn't care to put it back together. There were line lay issues, there were definitely the star drag stack tuning issues. It was just not tuned very well, and then this particular reel is extremely geary. This reel, on the other hand, is not nearly as geary. Like, I don't really feel too much of a geariness in there. What I do feel is something loose on the inside. I can't really explain what. It may be the line guide is what is feeling loose, or it could even be that the handle knobs themselves are kind of loose and kind of moving around, as well as the main gear shaft not being shimmed extremely well. But outside of that, if you can find this reel for about $40 to $45, I would say that, and you're okay with potentially opening up your reel to tune the star drag stack, then it may actually be a decent deal. But outside of that, I don't know. I think Histar really needs to step up in terms of the quality control, and it really needs to address some of the issues that it's facing before asking such high dollar price points for these GU and Aurora Air reels. And is there much difference between this and the $35, now $35 Aurora Air? I don't know. It's really hard to say. In my opinion, it looks better. But yeah, I'll go ahead and spool it up and give it a try soon. Anyways, that's going to do it for this video, guys. If you have any questions about the reel, please go ahead and list them in the comment section down below. If you liked the video, please consider giving it a thumbs up. If you didn't, go ahead and give it a thumbs down. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. It really helps the channel grow, really keeps me motivated to making these videos. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.